Hi, I'm Zeff Reeves, Managing Director of Tesoro Gold. Tesoro is an ASX listed company developing the exciting Zorro Gold project in the Atacama region of Chile.
Zeff, good to talk to you again. It's been a while. When we spoke last, we had a kind of a proper geological discussion and went into the resource and the like. Today, I just want to cover the year that was and look at the year that will be. I guess, you know, to start off with, the year that was, there have been two sides to this. One is the market, which from March onwards has just been a horror show, and the Tesoro share price has suffered just as much as any other junior. And then the other is the option is kind of the operations on the ground. So why don't we deal with the bad news first, and pull that tooth out, and let's talk about the market.
Yeah, it certainly has been a rough old year in the market, but, you know, something that I guess we take comfort in here at Tesoro internally is that we've got the asset, our Zorro, which is shaping up to be, quite a special gold asset. Everything that we do to that asset, it just gets better and better. So we know once we navigate through this period of market instability, and particularly in that gold sector, it's really taken a battering right through from the major producers right through to our junior guys. But look, we're hopeful that next year, once the central banks signal that they're going to stop putting interest rates, we'll see some uplift back in that gold price. Although the gold price is still strong, but it's not flowing through to the equity markets, and we'll see renewed interest in gold equities in the new year.
What's the dialogue been like with your existing shareholders? So I know you've just done a capital raise and you've brought in Goldfields as a new shareholder, but from the existing shareholder base, what's the feedback? What's the response?
Yeah, look, from our major shareholders, it's been really good, and they're highly supportive. We've obviously just about to complete a entitlements issue capital raising as part of a broader capital raising where we managed to get Goldfields in as a strategic investor in the company. But our major shareholders, they've been highly supportive because they see the work that we're doing, and we're doing what we say we do, and we're continuing to grow the project, and they know all the work that needs to be done in the background is happening.
Remind me
as ever.
Who they are and what percentage they hold?
Yeah, so the board and management hold about 10% at the moment. We've got a couple of small institutional funds on our register as well, and a number of high net worths. And the majority of those investors have been with the company since we listed back in February 2020. So they've been very supportive. They've assisted with capital raisings every time we've raised capital. And, some of the feedback that we get is that not many of their invested companies have been able to continuously deliver positive results like we have, and quickly establish, a very robust plus 1 million ounce resource in, arguably a world-class location right on the coast in the Atacama desert of Chile. So, and they understand the market challenges, and there's a whole lot of things that are outside of the company's control, and they understand that, and they know that there's underlying value in the asset, and the company's been able to deliver regardless of the market conditions on its plans and what it sets out to do.
And are they participating in the capital raise that you're doing?
Yeah, a majority of those investors are and shareholders are. We've actually we should announce the results of that capital raising in 2 days' time. Actually, we'll have the results of that entitlements issue out. So, but that'll obviously put us in a pretty enviable position. We'll have upwards of 9 million Aussie dollars in the bank nearly. Goldfield secured as a strategic investor. And we've obviously got major extensions to the Ternera deposit to drill that we've recently announced, and this amazing new gold district that keeps growing the more work that we do on it. And I think that's what's really enticed Goldfields to come on board is the potential in that district to not only host another Ternera, but potentially multiple Terneras or an even bigger gold deposit. So, it's going to be a exciting period of time going into the new year and on from there as the project continues to evolve and the company now well capitalised.
Remind me, how much drilling did you manage to get done in 2022?
Off the top of my head, 2022, probably around 30,000 metres, something like that for the year. So it was we weren't going as flat out as we were previously, but in total we've drilled around 105,000 metres into the project now. Majority of that's gone into Ternera, but we've recently just announced a couple of holes as well up in 5 kilometres north of Ternera at a new target called Calderillas, which had some really interesting results. And considering there were 2 isolated scout holes, if you like, both had positive results. So they indicate that, this is a big gold system. We've got plenty more work to do. And, you get on the ground. So I've had a couple of trips recently to Chile and spent quite a bit of time with our team on the ground. And once you start looking at geos in the eyes and seeing how excited they are, they're very enthused and very optimistic that, there's something much larger to find at El Zorro.
I've got a minor gripe about that news release that you put out. It talks about a new discovery, and I always think that a discovery is you've got to be really careful with that word because it's such a emotive or such a kind of a big deal. I think it's too early to call it a discovery, but I totally get that you can look the geologist in the eye and you can get a feel for the potential. But
I think the reason we headed down the path of calling it a discovery is El Zorro is a little bit unusual, as well as because the rocks are standing out of the ground. It's 70% outcrop there, so we have a really good handle on the controls on mineralisation. We can actually see the mineralised rock on the ground, and we're directly detecting it and directly sampling it, and then that's backed up with some initial drilling that's got arguably mineable widths of gold widths and grade of gold mineralisation in it. So we're pretty sure we're onto a new discovery there at Calderillas.
Okay, well, we'll let that slide. We'll let that slide for now. Remind me of the relationship between El Zorro and Ternera and this new thing. I mean, is the whole district called Ternera and El Zorro part within it?
No, so El Zorro is the entire project. So all of our concession holdings form the El Zorro Gold project. Ternera is where we have a current JORC compliant resource of 1.1 million ounces. And then we have multiple targets outside of Ternera, which could be other gold deposits eventually. One of them's a new discovery. Look, so we're starting to think that Ternera, so from Ternera to Calderillas is around about 5 kilometres. There's another 2 targets between, Toro Blanco and Kitsune. We're starting to get the feeling that that entire system is linked and potential to be continuously linked with gold mineralisation. So, and that's based off that outcrop rock mapping and sampling, and our guys have been doing a lot of work on that area between Calderillas and Ternera in recent months to get enough information for us to make a call on where and when we're going to drill those targets.
And what's the plan for, let's call it the plan for next year? What does it aim? Are you going to do incremental expansion of your Ternera resource, or are you going to fill out the rest of the trend, or both?
Yeah, so I suppose there's a 2-pronged approach to our strategy for growth for Tesoro. So one of them is ongoing growth of the deposit at Ternera. Some of the results that we announced in the back half of this year are some of the best drill results we've ever had out of Ternera, including some big expansion step-out holes to the south. So there's a large area in there of about another 200 to 300 metres of strike to extend that deposit further to the south. So that could conceivably start to push that up to, the 2 million ounce area. So we've got some drilling to do there, and we'll be focusing on doing that. And also in the background with Ternera, we're obviously going through the preliminary engineering studies, financial analysis and everything to begin to demonstrate that there's an economic deposit
and
there.
Some infill?
Yeah, and there will be some infill as well. So we'll start to put that mining inventory together, which will form part of those studies. So really the aim for Ternera is to grow it. We'd like to see it get to 2 million ounces. We really think there's a pathway, a fairly clear pathway to get there now. And, you know, in conjunction with that, run those studies. And then the other part, which is, you know, the real blue sky part of the strategy, is looking at these other targets. And as I said, you know, that's what's really piqued the interest of Goldfields to come on board. They've obviously done their homework, and, you know, it's a good validation for the company and particularly our technical team on the work that they've done in discovering a new gold system in Chile. This is previously unknown. And the more work we've done, the more targets we're seeing emerge out of it, and, you know, widespread gold mineralisation at surface. So we will systematically work through those targets through the year as well, and drill them if warranted. So a couple of those are reasonably advanced at the moment. Obviously, Calderillas we've recently drilled, so that certainly warrants some more drilling early in the new year. And we're just firming up targets at Kitsuni and Toro Blanco at the moment. So we're pretty excited to go and drill those. They're looking very promising, and there's been some other areas that the guys have started to get their heads around. 35 kilometres north of Ternera, they've found some gold mineralisation at surface in the same rocks and the same structural systems. So this is really starting to look like a big system. So a lot of work from a regional perspective, but sitting in the middle of it, you've got a potential 2 million ounce plus gold deposit that it continues to grow with the more drilling we do on it.
I'm just thinking about what I would call a discovery. There's the old the old Newmont system was that they would never report up the chain of command unless there were 100 gram meters, and you know, for you know, almost mentally, I think the discovery's you've got to have several 100 gram meter intersections before you can say actually we're onto something. But
yeah, potentially. I don't know. They were probably mining at $300 an ounce gold price back in those days, and needed 100 gram meter plus intercepts to make it economic. But, you know, certainly in this gold price environment, things are a little different, particularly for near surface stuff.
It matters, and of course the geometry, the location, and the metallurgy it matters enormously. That plays a huge factor. So it sounds like you're going to have a busy year. You might not have got through the kind of the budgeting, but do you, when you think about it, do you think kind of mentally half and half in terms of the allocation of funds to those two work programs in terms of dollars?
Yeah, look, as part of the Goldfields investment into Zorro, there's a minimum of 3.6 million Aussie dollars allocated to that district exploration effort to be spent over 18 months. And, you know, Goldfields will have some input into where that money is spent as well and how it is spent. So that obviously still leaves a fair chunk of capital there for us to get on with our work at Ternera and continue to grow that. So, you know, you could broadly think that's roughly what the split is. You know, and there's some other capital coming back to us as well. We've actually got a claim in with the Chilean tax authorities at the moment for a refund on our VAT tax that we've paid to them over the last 4 years on the project, and we've been able to claim that now as a lot of that expenditure has been claimed as a fixed asset, so that means that we're allowed to get the VAT back, which is roughly around 3 million Aussie dollars as well, so that's not too far away.
Yeah. Well, that would be a good result. How did the relationship with Goldfield start? Because it's obviously taken a number of years to pull together.
Yeah, it was actually through their team here in Perth. So sort of their global business development team here just happens to be a bunch of Aussie guys. So they've become more active, obviously, in Chile. They're developing the large Salares Norte deposit, which is not too far away from us, about 80 kilometres, but it's in the Andes to the east. That's going to be Chile's biggest gold-only mine once it hits full production. I think they're going to knock out around 300,000 ounces a year out of that. I think off the back of that, they've probably ramped up their activity in Chile. They've recently made another investment in a Canadian junior as well, called Torque, and mainly for a project that's not too far from that Salares Norte, or in the same belt as Salares Norte as well. So sort of regionally, I think they're becoming quite active, and they had a look at Tesoro and El Zorro maybe 18 months, 2 years ago initially, and had a good look at our data, and then as we've done more drilling and particularly on that regional scale, started to define this large system, they've come back, had a closer look, and told us they'd like to be involved.
Do you think they're going to put a director on the board? Do you think, and how closely are you working with the technical team already?
We're already working quite closely with the technical team. They were actually due to go on site this week, but during their travels through South America, they all got COVID. So that's been postponed. But look, it's early days yet. So until that entitlements issue gets settled, because they underwrote the entitlement issue as well. So once that gets settled and the dust settles on the capital raising, we'll get together with them and see what the lay of the land is going forward.
Good. And when do the drills start turning again? Or maybe they're still turning?
No, we've stopped turning at the moment. We've actually got our technical guys working on a re-interp of Ternera with the modelling and so on. And we're aiming to get a resource update out, hopefully by the end of the year, assuming that they get through that work. Because some of the drilling that we've done is actually was directed to help improve some of the resource classification and also join up some of the high-grade areas that we had in the deposit. And, given the results that we've announced recently, it's certainly done that. So we've stopped drilling, and now that we've got this nice big southern extension that we've found, we'll be pretty keen to get back on the ground early New Year. So at this stage, penciled in is sort of early January to kick off drilling again at Ternera, and probably in February, March, we'll try and get a rig out there for the district stuff as well. And
is January in Chile the same as January in Australia, with kind of 2 weeks? Christmas period with kind of 2 weeks just down tools, family time, recharge the batteries? Yeah, this will actually be the first year we've given the team a full break through that time. They're pretty relaxed about it. It's actually February is the big vacation month in Chile. So you'll see Santiago empty out and everyone heads off to the beach for February. Right.
But sort of the Christmas, New Year and January period is not too bad. But look, in the past, we've actually worked through, the guys have had the public holidays off, same as we do in the mining industry in Australia, and they kept on it. But seeing that we haven't got a rig on site at the moment, we've given them the full break from Christmas through to the end of the first week of January, and we hope to get the rig back there and get back into it.
I guess coming back to the market side of things, what are the catalysts for getting more institutional shareholding? I mean, your market cap is what, kind of 30-something Aussie?
Well, market cap's obviously one thing to get the market cap up. Certainly gets you on the radar of a lot more institutions. But it's been interesting since we announced the Goldfields investment. We've had a lot more institutional interest, reaching out to us to see how they may be able to help, get involved or whatever, and even to do some research. on us and things like that. And I think the Goldfields investment is not just a strategic investment from them. It becomes a tick of approval and a validation of the work, because those institutions know that Goldfields have done their due diligence, which kind of precludes them from having to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the endorsement, isn't it, of a technical team?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. So that level of interest has gone up, and then, like I said, I think if we see central banks back off those interest rates or stop putting them up anyway, and give some certainty around what monetary policy is doing going forward, we'll see some money come back into gold equities at some point in the new year.
And remind me of the decision to put out a new mineral resource estimate on the drilling that you've done. Let's go back a bit. The previous resource estimate had drilling up until the middle of 2021. Is that right? And then you've got 18 months.
Yeah, so the last drilling, the last estimate that drilling was actually up until April this year, 2022. So we've drilled another, I think it's about 7,000 or 8,000 metres since then. But they were very targeted holes, and there was 6 of them drilled on a different orientation than what we've drilled, specifically to help with resource classification. One of those was that 450 odd metre drill intercept. So that, holes like that do two things. They help stitch together the deposit and increase the resource classification, because we get a lot of coverage as they cross where the other holes are. And it obviously plugged up a lot of holes, a lot of gaps in the resource model with more grade now, and provides continuity through the deposit, particularly for the high grade areas. So we drilled a number of those holes.
Remind me of that intercept.
I think off the top of my head, hang on a minute, it was exactly 434.6 metres at 1.22 grams per tonne gold. Included 20.8 metres at 9.19 in one section, and 89.95 at 3.07 in another. So pretty good stuff.
Yeah, pretty good stuff.
So those holes, they provide a lot of technical information for us. So that's why we spend a lot of time going back, refining the 3D models of the mineralisation and the geology and so on, and with a view to re-estimate that, to increase that resource classification, to enable us to actually get our to announce some financial metrics around the deposit via a scoping study or a preliminary economic study that we could get out in the market at some point in time, because obviously we've got a lot of rules to get over with the regulators here in Australia in regards to how that is put into production schedules and so on, and the resource classification.
Are you going to do a third mineral resource estimate for that? I mean, are you going to do the infill drilling next year and more drilling to the south, and then do a third, an MRE3 perhaps, and then do a scoping study?
Yeah, I would say it's probably fair to say, you probably expect updated MREs every 6 months, as long as we've been drilling, basically. And, as we go, the market can see the growth in the deposit and the improvement in the resource classification and the distribution of where those resources are classified as we prepare the deposit for mining.
Good. So, I mean, there's not much left of this year to put out a mineral resource estimate. You've got 3 weeks, 2 of which are pretty quiet.
That's right. So, they've been working on it for a while. I don't think they're too far away. Obviously, I'm limited in what I can say publicly at the moment, but they're not too far away. We've spent a lot of time recently re-looking at all the geology. There's been a lot of re-logging and a lot of remodelling and so on of all the geological models, and now it's just down to the actual estimate. So there's work going on as we speak to get that out prior to the end of the year. I'm hopeful that we'll get there. If it's not out by the end of this year, it'll be very early new year.
Good. So new MRE, new mineral resource estimate, wrap up the entitlement issue and kind of get the capital in. That's all this year, or the kind of this is all kind of imminent news.
Yep.
And then back into drilling Ternera and the trend.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, as I said, we think Ternera's got a pretty clear pathway to get that resource up over 2 million ounces with additional drilling. And who knows how big the entire project could be, but there's certainly a lot of gold mineralisation there, and we'll continue to systematically work through all that through the year, and we'll get back. Obviously at Calderillas need some more drilling, pretty enticing drill results there, and our guys have got a heap of samples in the lab at the moment from Kitsuni and Toro Blanco to try and help us pinpoint some drilling there.
Good. Well, good luck next year. I hope for all of our sakes that there's a tailwind on the gold price and the general market. But do what you can do in the sense of control what you can control. Yeah,
that's right. Look, we're happy with the progress that's been made here. And it's something that I remind all of our team here is that we can only control what we can. We can't control the market, and the asset that we have and that we've developed and we're growing is shaping up to be a compelling, special gold asset in a fantastic location. So if you want to build a gold mine, there's probably no better place in the world from where it's located, not only being in Chile, but with all the supporting infrastructure. So we've just got to get it to that critical stage in terms of resource size and continue to progress it.
Good. Well, good luck, and I hope you get a break over Christmas on the way through.
Cheers. Thank you.